Dude, my stomach feels awful. Hey, I'm not the only one trying to make Angel here on a Diva work. Oh, they're straight up doing no limit. Ah, right, with the new piece, most likely. That is a lot of blues. That's hilarious. It's kind of painful to watch.
Coming from my mind. Vocal percussion on a whole other level. Coming from my mind.
Still don't think Eurus is a real deck. I don't know, none of the new cards are all that exciting to me with the exception of Piranha and Aquino. The entirety of No Limit got their thing, but I don't like Ray as much just because she's blue. And I don't, as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I cannot stand hand rips. Yeah, the new Layla. I haven't seen people use this. The fuck? That's really good, isn't it? The offensive once per game ability isn't as good. It's primarily there as a finisher, but this is really good. Here's their boss monster. Also, flying guitar looks exactly like Etna from this Gaia. It's impossible to ignore the similarities. Why is this the first image that shows up? Yeah, red twin tail thingy, the black bikini thingy. I guess they're missing the angel wings. Niggersaurus is still really funny. Surely there's something interesting for me to build. Wanna do something different. Oh, was she always so flat? I could try the I could try the adventurer ladies, I suppose, but they're flat. The new carnival, this carnival rig is really interesting. It's a red rig that isn't an exactly aggressive, but plays rather slowly. Oh, full ghost theme. That's a black ability. Kinda mid. Mm. Mourner of seizure. Well, yeah, the seizure is usually pretty mournful. Worthy. Dang, power creep. Power creep is a thing that exists. Mm. With how powerful the blue archives were, every new deck they're releasing is kind of just trying to catch up. One day the blue archives will be power crept out of the format, and I'll be very happy. Assuming they don't do any more. I remember Mel, but somebody else already made a really good Mel deck. That of course I made some slight adjustments to, because that's just the kind of bitch I am. It plays Nanashi selection, what more could I ask for? Very good. Why not, right? Let's build it competitively serious. Akino deck. It's still not my favorite, but I have learned somewhat the appeal of playing slow. I get the stun players. That doesn't mean I have to like it all that much. Still, Akino doesn't have her own servant. I don't know which one of these have I not used yet. Obviously playing four of this. Mono white is practically the only real way to build the deck. Oh hey, we got someone. Sure. This is this is a workable hand. Oh, it's them. Well, for what it's worth, we're not playing the strongest deck. Love top decking into that. They're both enters.
Recently, you might have seen these videos about Minecraft currencies, in which cases are made for why specific currency is the best. All of this basically started with this video by a YouTuber named PineconeLP, which many others have since responded to. While on the surface this might just seem like a couple of nerds debating Minecraft economics, even incorporating some very real economic theory into their argument, this is all actually a part of a greater discussion.
Dang
A
it,
discussion
that
on a
sucks.
topic referred to by the YouTuber Untossable Salad as Minecraft server theory. Minecraft server theory as a legitimate field of study, or as legitimate a Minecraft field of study can be, is kind of in its infancy, and because of that, I want this video to essentially gather as many of its main influences, sub-theories, and overall concepts and put them together into one concise point of reference, along with
Biggest
adding
problem
my
with their
own
deck is
thoughts
they're
to the
playing too
discourse.
much
In
blue.
addition, I also want to
Even though they're
explain
not
where I think it's
playing the
heading,
defensive
and why it might
Ray,
actually be more important than you think.
they're using
So
it for
now,
hand ripping.
what is Minecraft server theory?
They could empty my hand right
To put
now
it
and
simply,
fill up their
Minecraft server
own.
theory is the collection of ideas and principles that are built on facts and observations meant to explain
Or
how
they
and
won't.
why Minecraft servers work. This includes concepts such as the relationship between the player and the server, gameplay loops of a server, and how different variables affect player activity. The general goal of Minecraft server theory is to make Minecraft multiplayer as fun as possible, but it can be used in more experimental ways. As said before, there's different subfields and schools of thought, but this is the general idea. Now, the reason why the recent economic discourse is related to microserver theory is because it's establishing a system which will create genuine player interaction and thus activity on the server. The economic theory itself isn't necessarily MST, but it is useful or even necessary for the system to function, so it's still a relevant point of discussion. In addition, the actions that are taken to establish a particular economic system is MST.
Could play slow and
While
conserve
MST
resources
itself
for
may
late
be
game,
relatively new, trying to have fun is not, so there's always been
but that's
a need
really
to
dumb
understand how
considering who
Minecraft
we're up
servers work
against.
to some capacity, as well as contention between players and how a server should be. It's usually a debate of vanilla versus modded, rules versus anarchy, stuff like that. Some basic principles and practices have been established, or at least suggested, such as the 70% rule, the 2-week Minecraft phase, close proximity equals activity, but what differentiates what's going on now with before is the recent growth and development the community has seen, and the genuine debates aiming to figure out how, and more importantly, why, servers work. Of course, this means a lot has been said and developed, but I managed to work around 10 core fundamentals of Minecraft server theory, being a mixture of these insights and my own. You might disagree on a few or suggest something different, which is perfectly fine. I'm just trying to establish at least something that can be used as a framework. Also, this is mainly geared towards survival, but some of these ideas can still be applied to creative mode. Anyway, onto the first fundamental, with it being focus and objective.
Perfectly
Focus and
aware I might
objective
not be able
refers
to
to the
keep
aims,
these.
goals, and overall direction a player has in the game, in this case, Minecraft. This is a very important fundamental
When
of not
playing
just
against blue, it's
Minecraft,
important
but
to
game design in
understand
general,
the
since
best
an
way to play
unclear
against
focus and
them is
objective
to
will
just
lead to the player
keep
feeling
your
left
hand
without a
empty.
clue on what to do and why. But that's where Minecraft is unique. There
If
isn't
that's their
necessarily
primary
any
form of
core focus
disruption, then
aside
just make
from
it
maybe
worthless.
the Ender Dragon and achievements, but even then, they're not necessarily required.
Really that simple sometimes.
Instead,
No one can tell you what you can or cannot do, with no rules to follow. This adventure, it's up to you.
while this is absolutely what makes Minecraft so beloved,
You
it's
don't have
also a
any
major
defenses,
dilemma
what
that
are you
servers
doing?
have to deal with. Not being assigned something to do can either be freedom to pursue anything you can imagine, or lack of interest, stimulation, or meaning, aka boredom. It's because of this focus and objective is first on the list, as it's arguably the most fundamental of fundamentals. However, that's not to mean the next isn't important. The second fundamental is the triad of multiplayer. It basically means that a successful Minecraft multiplayer is made of 3 components, being the players, the community, and the server. Players are the individuals who play on the server, the community is made up of the players, a part of the server, and the server is the physical machine itself combined with staff. These 3 are distinct and all required for Minecraft multiplayer to exist. Just when clarification is needed between server and the physical machine and server as in the whole, I'll say Minecraft multiplayer. Got it? Okay, continue. A successful Minecraft multiplayer must both support each of them as well as maintain stability between the 3 components. And by maintain stability, I mean as the first fundamental already established that Minecraft has no defined focus or objective, and the second states that player, community, and server are distinct components. The result is that all are able to have their own unique focuses and objectives. For example, a server's focus might be geopolitics, while the overall community mainly wishes to build in peace. But you also have 1 or 2 individual players who might want to troll people through hacking or something. These are 3 very different focuses and objectives, and while not this is always the case, they are incompatible in this hypothetical scenario, a serious issue as it can result in someone else's focus being interfered with or sabotaged. What is normally done to solve this issue is the implementation of regulation or policy intended to keep the focuses similar. For example, banning some activities or attempt to make the different focuses more compatible, such as intertwining the focuses. This is why events are so effective at boosting activity and maintaining stability, as they provide everyone a single main focus for the time the event is around. Continuing with the concept of the triad, the third fundamental delves specifically into the relationship between the player and the server, an idea established by Intossable Salad. According to which the player and the server have an obligate commensal relationship, which to put it simply means the server is dependent on the player for survival, while the player does not. The result of this is that players always have the ability to leave the servers freely, causing the server to always be in threat of death, meaning it is important for the server to keep players on. In theory, it is possible to establish an obligate mutual relationship, like if you could hypothetically hook up a player's physical body to the server where they needed to survive, and if the server ever dies or crashes, so would they. However, This is insane, very unethical, and probably illegal. I'm not entirely sure if it is, but I'm not searching that up. Anyway, on to something less disturbing. The fourth fundamental is similar to the last, but this time it's the player-to-player relationship. Unlike with player and server, this relationship is a facultative relationship. Did I pronounce that correctly? Or in other words, players benefit from one another, but don't need each other to survive. Also, when I say benefit from one another, this can be from working together, or just simply others simply existing, as players interacting with other players is generally good for activity. Humans are sociable creatures, even more so in multiplayer. Pinecone LP, Untossable Salad, KCG, and generally every Minecraft server theorist acknowledges this. Because of
Well,
this, servers
sucks.
will usually focus heavily on promoting interaction between players, be it natural and unnatural, with both methods having their supporters and critics. The economic debates, as we discussed earlier, are an attempt at establishing natural interaction, which is why adoption of the currency is extremely important, as players must naturally choose to participate in it. It's for this reason why KCG's Nether Star-backed currency has been criticized, due to the argument that most servers never obtain nearly enough Nether Stars for a sound currency. Pinecone LP's weak currency system has also been criticized, but in this case it's because of the heavily regulatory nature of the system that utilizes a lot of intervention and enforcement, which may not prove viable. By the way, if you're interested in checking out this discourse and just MST in general, I've made a
Innocent
playlist with
Flash.
videos linked in the description. But overall, getting players to interact is extremely important, yet can be extremely difficult, and the next fundamental helps us really understand why. The fifth fundamental is the production loop. In game design, the concept of a game loop is very important, and the production loop being the game loops for meeting one's material needs like food. Minecraft has what a YouTuber named Joyful refers to as an individual production loop, which in simple terms means Minecraft players are self-sufficient and can meet their own needs themselves, which, by the way, does mean an economy is technically not necessary, at least in Minecraft, something that any economic proposal has to handle. According to Joyful, this is because Minecraft Survival was originally designed to be playable as single player. As with the first fundamental, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it gives players more freedom. But it could also lead to players running off and staying isolated from one another, which, as we know, is a major issue according to the fourth fundamental. Joyful does propose a solution, which would be to establish a social production loop, or a production loop where players are required to cooperate in order to survive. This would be done through modifying game mechanics to be overall too difficult to survive alone. While the original intention of Joyful's theories and the production loop concept was to tackle civilization events where natural cooperation is desired for a simulation of society, these concepts are still very useful for general MST. It gives us a better understanding of a core gameplay loop which affects the relationship between players, and it helps us understand how game mechanic changes could affect the relationship and one's experience overall. Also, hypothetically, if you took that player to server hookup idea and then implemented the social production loop, you would both solve the issue of players leaving the server and would solve the issue of natural interaction, making this hypothetical server technically the best Minecraft multiplayer ever. But like at this point, you're not playing a game anymore, you just replace real life with Minecraft. Which probably defeats the purpose of MST, since that wouldn't be fun? Or maybe it would be, since it would just be real life, and you can have fun in real life currently, so if Minecraft was literally life... Wait, this is basically just that one Magic Gun video. Anyway, on the topic of life, the sixth fundamental is actually a slight reworking of a fairly well-known psychological theory called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a theory conceived by a psychologist named Abraham Maslow, which establishes 5 distinct types of things you require, which in order are physiological needs, stuff like food and water, safety needs, stuff like shelter, love and belonging, stuff like family and friends, esteem, stuff like how others perceive you, and self-actualization, the thing I struggle with. Pinecone LP mentioned Maslow's theory in a video of his, but Untossable Salad went to it a bit more and suggested that the needs are not one-to-one to you in real life and Minecraft, but definitely similar enough where the 5 categories are pretty much the same, just in Minecraft. The reason why this is useful is relatively straightforward. Player psychology, understanding how players attempting to meet their needs translates in gameplay, and how the server could influence it in gameplay through actions that affect the needs. For example, the social production loop, as we talked about earlier, would drastically change how players
we still
approach their
have
physiological
plenty of,
needs, thus changing their experience.
we might be able to
Along
get
with the
away with
player's
not
hierarchy of
having a
needs,
zero cost
servers have needs
extra
as
way to
well,
draw.
which are described by the 7th fundamental, the server's hierarchy of needs, which
As long as
yeah,
we
the
have
name needs work.
familiar
This
enhanced.
comes from Untossable Salad's video, in which they presented the concept and identified the first 2 needs as physiological, but in this case stuff like hardware and electricity, and population, aka the players of the server. The other types of needs weren't identified,
from
but
here,
after
just
careful
all the best
consideration, I
whites.
think I figured them out, beginning with staff and management. A server can technically exist without staff and management, but 99% of the time they're crucial to a server. So for that reason, I placed this need
We'll go,
after
remember, we'll
population,
go for
but
the
before
new
Steam. And yes, I know
Cosmo
a server
thingy.
having a Steam as a need sounds a bit strange, but hear me out. A Steam in the regular Maslow's hierarchy of needs can refer to seeking respect, and while that might still not make much sense, remember that players do have some sort of perception of a server, aka the server has a certain reputation and level of respect. And so since staff usually does exist, they can absolutely have that esteem need just like you normally would. And like, think about it, if a server or a staff does not have respect, people will not play on the server, which results in a lack of its population need, and ultimately the server would die. So that's why esteem is a need. Finally, there is identity, which I think is pretty
arguably
straightforward. If the
Winner,
server
maybe
lacks an
even
identity,
the other
it
one
will
would
not
be
have a
better.
clear focus or objective, thus players may not find the experience unique, and ultimately might decide to play somewhere else, and there you have it, the server dies. The server's hierarchy of needs is definitely one of the more odd concepts, but is nonetheless a very important fundamental to keep in mind, as it helps us better understand the relationship between identity, reputation, and management. Topics that I feel are especially contentious when discussing Minecraft servers. It's quite useful to have something to reference for analysis. Which leads me to the 8th fundamental, being Minecraft player types. Oh, talk about contention. Due to a lot of the previous fundamentals, especially the first, there are many kinds of Minecraft players. Not necessarily a revolutionary concept, but still important. How players play, act, interact, etc. will be different, and while diversity can be good, it also means different needs and sometimes incompatibility, going back to the 2nd fundamental. Because of this, it is useful to categorize players to better understand and manage them. Not in a tyrannical way, of course. How you categorize them and what categories, though, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. There's a lot of different ways the community and even the overall gaming community in general categorizes different player types, so I genuinely don't know what should be used as standard. That being said, I believe that whatever is used should consider that 1, players aren't just this or that, instead it's a lot more nuanced. 2, players can spend time focused on things out of the game, such as writing lore, and still consider themselves a part of the game and community. And 3, do not, and I repeat, do not place some types as better than others. For example, I've seen and met quite a few people who would argue builders are playing the game as intended or are the definitive Minecraft players. This is just not true. There is no right way to play Minecraft, so there is no best player type. If there was, then Minecraft wouldn't be Minecraft. I know some of you might think I'm being a bit overdramatic, but it just all goes back to the first few fundamentals, where balance, or at least a minimization of incompatibility between different focuses and objectives, is extremely important.
Just
And
shove in all the best
idea of a
defensive level
definitive way to
ones, I
play
suppose.
will only make matters worse. Continuing though, I might establish
I might
some
put in
set categories
Kogitsune
and
Maru
systems
if
to determine who is which, possibly even develop a test that people could take, you know? But all of this would be for another time. Leave a comment if you would be interested. Now, the 9th fundamental is scaling, which basically refers to the size of a server's population. How many players a server has will drastically affect the community, operation, etc. For example, a small server of around 10 players can usually get away with being a lot simpler in operation, and due to how small the community is, everyone is familiar with each other and has a lot more individual influence on the community. Now, contrast that to a massive 1,000 player server. Unless you don't mind your server becoming 2b2t, you'll usually require a robust staff team and have to handle a much more complicated community, and in turn a much more complicated triad of multiplayer. And finally, we have the 10th fundamental of game balance. This is another game
Read,
design fundamental, which I've already
Get
touched upon
Bible
while
would
discussing
still
the other
be Get
fundamentals, but it's
Almandal.
basically as the name implies, balancing fairness and difficulty in a game and its mechanics. For servers that aren't playing vanilla, this can be done through adding, removing, buffing, and nerfing things within the game. And in some cases outside of the game,
We are
like
a lot
regulating
more enter
metagaming,
hungry.
but it's a lot more difficult. Usually a core focus and objective are crucial for good game balance, but in Minecraft multiplayer's case, it's more so about balancing the different focuses of each individual player, along with the triads components as said back when discussing the second fundamental. Of course, this makes achieving balance a lot more difficult, but hey, that's the beauty of Minecraft, which technically there is the option of forcing everyone into a singular focus, but we're talking base game. Once again, these fundamentals might not be perfect, and I absolutely welcome criticism, but overall, I think that it's a pretty solid starting point. Also, even though these fundamentals do cover the general ideas of Minecraft server theory, there's still a lot of topics and concepts that I haven't touched upon. For example, Salad's question, the Mento cycle, the varying structures of server leadership, and even my own theories, such as the social act theory, just to name a few. But of course, I just want to stay with what I believe are the fundamentals with this video. So now, where is Minecraft server theory heading? Well, honestly, I think we might see the current economic discourse go on for another few weeks. In the meantime, more and more people will join the general MST discussion, building on each other and adding their own insights to the field. By the way, I think you should all check out this video that it's called "What the Minecraft Currency Debate is Missing" by Turtlesnake. It goes into Minecraft server theory as well. I kind of just stumbled upon it while working on this video. But yeah, check it out though. Anyway, continuing. I don't know how well this video is going to go, but maybe some of you watching this will respond to me, or perhaps propose their own core fundamentals. By the way, if that does happen, would my ideas be referred to as Kingian theory? Yeah, it doesn't hit the same as Joyfulism or Pyconian theory. The point, however, is that I believe Minecraft server theory, and maybe more importantly, its community, will continue to grow and develop, which honestly, I'm very excited to see. And of course, some people are probably wondering why any of
Ishimaru
this
is
even
just
matters.
a lot better.
Well, for starters, I don't think it even has to matter as long as the people participating are enjoying
Slowdabi
it. That being
is
said, I believe that it does
a
matter
lot better
simply
in
due to
mono
how
white
useful it is for
as
analysis
well.
and operation of Minecraft multiplayer. This will genuinely help players and owners alike establish servers they're more satisfied with. And because of the better understanding people will have on Minecraft multiplayer, we might see some people experiment in ways we haven't seen before. And since these experiments will be grounded in a foundation which many have contributed to, they could be quite successful, which of course what is successful is subjective, but in my case, it's enjoyment and longevity. Overall, I believe we're going to see a new era of Minecraft servers, with many different kinds sprouting out, and I know a lot of people have been feeling like Minecraft servers as of recently are getting stale and generic, and while some might argue differently, Minecraft server theory will undeniably usher in innovation. Or maybe I'm completely wrong.
What are our life burst? 1, 2, 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 14. That is a lot of Digny dedicated to removal. $15, $16. All of our things are removal based. Okay.